Ladies and gentlemen, the Republicans throughout the country are siding with President Trump. You might not hear this in the news, and you might not see this from statements by Brian Kemp or Raffensperger or others. They're not going to tell media and the Democratic Party that, oh yeah, we're finally backing everything that President Trump said the past 5-6 months or 4 months. Okay. We're not, what's taking place is the following. They are now passing voting laws that voting reforms that address the fact, for example, that a great part of the protocol, or a whole lot of the protocol, last November was tied to a response to the pandemic. They said, well, we have to do this, that, and I'm just reporting now. And I'm following YouTube guidelines. I'm giving you the Republican viewpoint. Because when you actually read the Georgia voting laws that have been signed by Brian Kemp, the governor, it's not that, they're not that egregious, and they just, for example, the people who collect the Board of Registrars, for collecting, the Board of Registrars and absentee ballot clerks shall arrange for the collecting and return. Okay, so any person collecting from a drop box shall have sworn an oath in the same form as an oath for poll officers set forth in Code Section 21995. Okay, the collection team shall complete and sign a ballot transfer form upon removing the ballots from the drop box, which shall include the date, time, location, the number confirmed. Okay, so, and the identity of each person collecting the ballots. What is wrong with that? What is so horrible about that? I get the whole water and food, but what is so horrible about this? Did you know who the identities, or did you know who they worked for? The people collecting? Now, I'm just, from the Republican perspective, not my own, but the Republican perspective, it says here within the law, if you read it, that the drop boxes themselves were a pandemic response. We're not going to have the pandemic ever again, hopefully. Okay, and especially not 4 years from now. So, how is this the worst thing ever? There are days, if you say, well, it was more convenient for people. There's voting two weeks prior. So you have the 2 weekends prior to vote. Everyone can obtain ID. So what is the big outrage? A pandemic response is just that. If you don't have to, if you don't have a crisis, then why implement the same protocols without any, there were no, in Florida, for example, there was a whole bunch of, there are a great many articles talking about, hey, you know what, people collecting, that's a big issue. Sometimes they're linked to political parties. So, whereas you didn't have direct evidence, and yes, you did not have direct evidence of any of President Trump's claims, but they were never investigated. Issues that took place in Florida, South Florida in particular, for years, that Republicans took advantage of, Democrats, made a big issue about that. Republicans were able to take advantage of, for example, the collection of votes. Okay? Hit subscribe to this channel right now. According to the Republican perspective, so hit subscribe right now. This is an important segment. There was a word. Okay, so here, this is Miami Herald, 2019. How absentee ballots. Hold on one second. So this is okay. Their article's 2016. Sorry. So there are so many articles that I'm like reluctant to even bring this up. Why? Why am I reluctant to bring it up? Because if you bring up certain issues, the bottom line is the following. Republicans have backed President Trump. The voting laws that, for example, are in 43 states, 250 of them, and I'm looking at there was actually a name for the people who collected the votes in South Florida. I forgot exactly, God. But anyway, there are articles in Slate, there are articles in the New York Times talking about how Republicans were taking advantage of a lack of distinct protocol where you didn't, anyone could just simply go to, drop boxes, or anyone can simply. That's, there's nothing wrong with defining and setting boundaries and rules and guidelines. That's what every state has to do. Republicans were outmaneuvered completely because media and Democrats said, oh my God, the crisis, the pandemic, you're going to put people at risk, even though they had primaries. They had primaries in Florida, Illinois, Arizona, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin, during the height of the pandemic. And with Wisconsin, you had people waiting in rain and hail. So if you look here, okay, so balloteros have been prosecuted here in every election. So that's a word that's used to just explain. All right. Well, anyway, I'm not even gonna get into it. There's protocol, and you now know who is collecting what. That's all. That's one of the main things. Then there's identification required to prove that you need to vote by mail or get an absentee. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Just to make sure you live at the address? My God, what is wrong? So this is the legislation SB 202. You can actually just here, it's legis.ga.gov. You can actually read, and it pretty much addresses what President Trump has brought forth, or at least what his administration, Peter Navarro, others. But again, they're addressing protocol, a lot of the protocol that was just implemented as a very, very as a reaction, a quick response to the crisis of the past year that was unique in every way. So they keep on saying, well, you know what, this is just because to keep people safe. Well, okay, you're kind of, and then there are a whole lot of other issues you can't talk about. So, but yeah, they're backing. Go look at the text of SB 202. Go look at the text. It's not egregious at all. I mean, my God, it's not that. It's almost as if Democrats want a system to be flooded, and an overwhelming number of votes that you can't. You can't. Oh, I don't even want to get into it. They're asked. Okay, they're a lot of. Okay, so here, let's just go really quickly. The identification. You need identification to just prove that you're not being stopped from voting by mail or absentee. You just need identification to prove you live at a certain location. That's all. Not that big of a deal. Okay? So you're going to get information sent to your address. You can just read it. It's right here. Electors should be notified. Any person applying for absentee by mail ballot shall make application in writing in the form available. So that's not anyone. You're not being prevented. You're just literally going through a normal process. In order to confirm the identity of the voter, such a form shall require the elector to provide his or her name, date of birth, address. So it's just actually establishing protocol. That's all. You can read the text. It's SB 202. Read the text. This is not an example of some kind of egregious thing. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Thank you. I mean, and it also backs up, I should say, in a surreptitious manner, it backs what President Trump has been calling for, guidelines that could be enforced, which helps Democrats also. Aren't they worried about Republicans? Aren't Democrats worried about Republicans, asking for absentees without any proof of address or identification? I mean, isn't that something that Democrats worry about? I'm just giving you the Republican perspective. Certainly not my own. Give me your thoughts.